mysteries abound around the world, from strange lights in the night sky to ghostly apparitions passing from one realm to the next. From the great pyramids of Egypt to what lies beneath the depths of Loch Ness. From Bigfoot to Atlantis, they are all mysteries waiting to be solved. Join Laurie Phillips, Lauren Smith, Graz, and Billy Simmons as they search for the truth on Night Callers Radio.
Welcome, everyone. It is January 8th, 2015, and you are listening to Night Callers Radio. Tonight's Night Callers crew is here, and we're in the best shape we could possibly be in, considering about 3/4 of us are sick. So we're all here. And,
here?
Tonight,
Here is relative.
Yeah. Everyone present.
Here.
Well, tonight we're having a call-in show. In our appreciation, we want to thank all of our listeners for their support. But we discovered that on our last call-in show, it was huge success in our downloads. So we're hoping to bring more call-in shows for our listeners in the future. So tonight we're going to be airing our first call-in show of the year. If you have a Bigfoot encounter or story to share, we would love to hear from you. If you have any questions, our experienced crew will do our best to answer them. If you'd like to call in and share your opinion of our show, we welcome all comments. If you have suggestions for future guests, please call in and we'll take the information down. All calls will be limited to 10 minutes, and only the first name will be required. And we reserve the right to end any phone call prematurely, just in case we get an idiot on there. And anyway, thank you all for listening tonight. The call-in number is 347-989-0313. And I think we have a question from the chat. Do we?
No.
Somebody's just playing with the new button.
Oh, that was me.
Uh-huh.
That, ladies and gentlemen, is our new chat question sound. So if you hear that, it does mean that the hosts have been notified that there is a chat question. So we figured we would, since we're always referring to this show as the Starship Enterprise, we decided to use some Starship Enterprise type sounds. So anyway, we welcome everyone out there listening. Okay, so we are waiting for our first caller. Guys, how you guys doing tonight?
Pretty good. Thank God for Theraflu. That's all I can say.
It was beginning to sound like me. I'm the only old person in this place.
I don't know.
That you are.
I'm pretty old too, Graz. So I'm right up there with you. Yeah.
Just because you're the senior member, Graz, I wish I had a really good weekend story type thing to tell as to why I feel this way. But it's a good old winter head cold.
Yeah. Same here.
Well, there's something going around, definitely.
Yeah. But we're here, we're present, accounted for, and ready to rock and roll this show.
Well, I think we have a caller. If y'all want to jump right in.
Okay, and we're gonna remind the caller that they're limited to 10 minutes. So let's go ahead and bring this first caller on.
Asa, you there?
About you, Armando, are you there?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Oh, wait a minute.
How are you doing? How are you
I'm
doing
doing
tonight,
fine.
Armando?
I'm doing great. Just, getting a chance to listen in finally. So how's everybody been?
Well, we've been better. We're all feeling the crud tonight, I think. I think all of us have it.
I've been lucky so far.
Mic away from your mouth a little bit there, Mondo.
Okay. Well, I've been avoiding the whole sickness, and I'm glad. Knocking on wood right now.
Yeah. Well, I wish I could. It's like you get it and you just can't get rid of it. It just kind of hangs on, all the after symptoms, So it's just, and it's all over the country. What's amazing to me is that it's all over the country. It's not just in Texas. Where are you at, Armando? Are you at home?
Yes, I am. Unfortunately, you can hear the kids in the background.
Oh, yes. I thought you were at the mall.
Oh, no. I'm with the kids at the house. But, well, I guess if I'm going to take my quick 10 minutes.
Okay.
Well, I was going to say that as far as an actual encounter, I haven't been privy to one of those yet, unfortunately. However, I have experienced a couple of things around the house that I thought were a little unique. I thought they were a little strange. And approximately about a month and a half ago, I was out in my front yard, and I'd been in quite a lot of contact with Dale. He's down there in Sweeney, and so long story short, I was out and about looking around, and we'd been discussing the metaphysical aspects of Sasquatch and their cloaking abilities, and all that good stuff. Anyways, I go to my front yard. It's in the middle of a rural, very suburban area. Got some rural stuff to it, but I go to the big tree in my front yard, and I found 2 green pecans sitting side by side right at the base of that tree. And I don't know what that means, but I found it really odd because there are no, green pecan trees anywhere in this area.
Okay. Armando, is there any possible way to go to a quieter room?
Hold on a second. Getting a lot of feedback. Is that what it is?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Hold on just a second. Okay.
Stop the clock.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Is it a little better now?
Yes. Now, what is this about green pecans?
Yes, they were pecans, of course. This time of year, you can find them, ready to crack open and eat. But these were green pecans, completely intact inside the shell. Just 2 of them side by side at the base of the tree. I thought it was really interesting.
And what do you think the significance is of 2 green pecans?
And that's, I was curious because I don't know, or I don't think I've made contact with any Sasquatch.
Well, what do you think the pecans mean?
What do I mean? Well, I don't know. I just, they were green and they were sitting side by side. I thought it was more like a gift of sorts. But I definitely, it definitely meant, to me, it was definitely out of the ordinary for here, where I'm at. So I think it was an attention getter.
Is it possible to have Sasquatch in your area? Are you in a rural area or a suburban area with woods nearby? Or have you ever gone on Google Earth to look to see how they may be approaching your house?
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Hold it down, you two. Hold it down. So, I'm sorry. Now, as far as getting back to my neighborhood, and this is just really getting irritating. I'm so sorry, but can you guys hear me okay?
Yes, we hear you fine.
Okay.
It is quiet.
Okay, great. Okay, as far as getting back here to my subdivision, it's pretty dense at night. I've looked on Google Earth, And from the nearest sighting I've had in this area, the Spring, Texas area, I said, there's still lots of thick woods, and then, in the middle of the night, making it up through here, I wouldn't see them really having much of a problem because, it's still heavily wooded, even though there's a lot of urban development around here.
Okay.
So I thought it was, I took it as a message of, saying, hey, we're here,
That's interesting.
That's been my
Where
latest
did you say
thing.
you live? Down in East Texas or something, or what?
I live in the Spring area, Texas.
North of Houston.
In the North Houston area. So it was, I just didn't know what else to explain. I thought it was really, really odd. So I knew it was a sign, in my mind. That's the first thing that hit me.
What county is that in? Is that Montgomery County?
That is at the northern edge of Harris County.
Okay.
And it was really interesting, though. I said that was my biggest thing.
Wow. We appreciate you calling in and sharing that with us, Armando.
Thank you so much. And I was just wondering if anybody else out there had any kind of input on that.
Okay.
Yeah. Not really. Not having been there.
I've been gifted before, but it wasn't anything like that. When I was gifted feathers. Yes. Well, at first
you got
I was
some
gifted
pretty good
animal
parkland
souls.
southeast.
Say again?
You got some pretty good parkland southeast. I can't get a name of the darn thing. It's almost that swampy area southeast, just west of 59. I'm looking on Google Earth just to see what's around.
Yes, sir. Uh-huh. Oh, yes. There's once you get over on the other side of 45, it starts getting thick really fast, really quick. And even though there's a lot of development over there, there's plenty of there's plenty of cover for any Sasquatch to move in and around us, especially at night. And my biggest thing is even though it is we've got a lot of traffic in the Houston area, regardless of what time of day or night it is, most of the traffic is confined to the big roads. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I found it really surprising that there were two of them sitting side by side. I thought it was pretty interesting. And that's about it.
We just have to ponder that one for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Thank you, Armando.
Well, thank you for having me. You bet. Thank you for having me.
If anything else happens, just give us a call.
Oh, yes. I sure will. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay.
Let's see.
That was our first caller. Okay, everybody out there listening, we want you to call in 347-989-0313. If you've had any kind of experience at all that you want to share with us, relating to the paranormal preferably, I think I need to say that.
You might want to throw that out there, just saying.
Yeah, I think so. But if you've had any experiences, please, relating to the paranormal, please call in. We're going to be here all night till 10 o'clock. So,
or any questions for us in the chat room.
Exactly. Yeah.
I'm still looking around on Google Earth around this place trying to get some bearings on it.
Oh, okay. Then what? Well, Montgomery County has a lot of sightings there. You've got the big thicket wilderness down in that area. You've got Sam Houston National Forest, Lone Star Trail, all of that's down there.
You've got a pretty good area over there where there's lots of pecan trees.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, here we go.
And damn pecans. They're all
pecan
down there.
Yeah.
How do you say it, Billy?
Pecan.
Pecan. Yeah, that's what I say too.
You don't want me to tell you the definition of a pecan that I explained to Grass one night, so.
Oh, you can if you want. I mean, this is PG. I mean.
Right. One time till our first caller.
God, you better change the subject, or we have to change the rating on the show.
All right,
so, Lori, anything happening down in your area recently, down where you live, research?
Well, it's not really Bigfoot related, but I got a couple of big horned owls that I've been worried about letting my dogs out at night because I have little dogs, and they've been hanging up real close to the house.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they're in love because they sit there and they coo back and forth to each other all night long. And so, yeah, it's pretty interesting. But I've always heard the superstition, if you hear a hoot owl hooting outside your window 3 nights in a row, someone's going to die,
Right.
Well, I only heard it one time, I've heard them out there away from the house, but only close to the house one night. But I was real concerned because, they get pretty big, these owls.
Yes.
And it's not uncommon for them to take off with a chihuahua. So, anyway.
No.
Yeah.
Well, my prime research area that was actually here behind the house is pretty much gone. They took a bulldozer to the all of the woods are gone. They leveled it.
This is not where we went on the Sulphur River Bottom, is it?
No, not that one. All the
Okay.
Private land that I owned here behind the place. I sold this place here, and the new owner decided to go in there and just level everything. And so, I can no longer walk out my back door and do what research I want to do, not on this piece of property. So I don't know where they're running through, passing through now. It's not going to be on this place anymore. So, and of course they did all the construction across the road, so they really, they found somewhere else to go. They're not coming through here much anymore. There's nothing for them.
It's got a plus side to it. They're not tapping on your windows anymore, or trying to look through the bathroom windows at the girls.
Yeah, that much is true. Yeah, but it's a little weird getting used to it. The dogs aren't raising sand all night, like you said. Everything going on out in the yard. It's actually quiet and peaceful out here now, so it's kind of hard to get used to.
Well, it was pretty active here for a while. It seems like it's quieted down.
Yeah.
And it usually does when it gets up into December and January and February and March. Usually about March, it starts to pick back up again. So right now it's pretty quiet. Last few nights have been real cold, real clear, full moon, quiet when I go outside.
Someone in the Bigfoot community actually asked that question. They're down in Texas, too, wondering what Bigfoot is doing at this time of year when it's so damn cold.
I know these here, everything would just completely stop right here. They retreated somewhere, deeper, I guess, in the woods off of this property and out of this area, especially when the snow would come in. They were gone. I don't know. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I don't know where they went, but we would have no activity, no anything, on the property about this time of year. They would retreat somewhere deeper in the woods. What do we have, Grace? We have a call?
Yeah, no, we got a question.
Okay.
Lori 103 says, Graz? Sounds like someone we know. Did any one of you see the picture of an artist's rendition of a Squatch with hair on its face and without hair? Let's see here. That was on Bigfoot Community. Where'd that go? Hold on a second. I'm not so awful impressed with it personally. Hold on. Where'd it go? I'm actually having a good giggle about someone who did a sculpture of Patty's face without hair. That was a pretty good giggle on Bigfoot Community.
Well, I bet you
You'd have to go to the website. They made it with the nose is absolutely bulbous. It's almost like a big rock on its face. Let's see here. No, that wasn't. Let's see. Look at that question. Yeah, that was just a rendition of A Squatch by David Paulides, I think it was. Yeah, David Paulides. In the original forensic artist sketches on the left, the artist gave the creature shave in the sketch on the right. You guys want a link to that?
Yeah, go ahead and pitch it in.
Go ahead and put it in the chat.
I'm not all that impressed with it because there's also a difference between the two of them as far as the morphology of the faces. The right one kind of looks like Muhammad Ali. Hold on a second.
Oh.
Wait a minute.
Muhammad Ali.
You can take that in your wish. This could be an interesting discussion of some social problems. Okay, there it is. There's the link in Skype. You can go look at it.
Okay, I'm going to roll this up right quick. And look.
It's a general impression. Watch. Now, maybe somebody can tell me one way or the other. Maybe somebody can say something in the chat whether Paulides has even seen one.
Yes, or call in and tell us.
To be able to come up with it.
We do have a caller. Can we go ahead and take this caller?
Sure.
Click over here.
We've also got another question, looks like, in the chat as well.
Okay.
409, you are on the air.
Am I really?
Yes.
Oh,
Wonder.
Richard.
Well, how's everybody doing tonight?
We're doing.
How you doing, Richard?
Mean, ornery, bullheaded, and stubborn as usual.
Oh,
and as Lori.
I knew you were going to say that. That's why this redhead comes in handy. That's what makes me so stubborn.
Yeah, that's why I can still run good. I know how to run from redheads. Yeah, you say the white one kind of looks like Muhammad Ali.
Yeah.
It's great. Okay. All right, you're still there then. We're on a delay or something, I guess.
Say that again. I talked over you.
That's what I'm saying. We're on a delay or something, I guess, huh?
Yeah, there's a slight delay.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, you were talking about Muhammad Ali just got out the hospital yesterday. I don't remember what he was in the hospital for, but it looked anything like Muhammad Ali does now. Man, he's looking rough.
I know. He's getting old, isn't he? Bless his heart.
Yeah, but we're all getting old.
Yeah,
especially Richard.
Speak for yourself, buddy. I'm just getting younger by the day. Actually, I'm standing outside right now looking at just still skies. I mean, just beautiful skies right now. Now that it's cool enough for it. No wind, fortunately.
Are you still down in the Beaumont area, Richard?
Oh Lord, no. I'm up here. I'm about 15, 20 minutes from Billy right now.
Really?
Yeah, we're just down the road from each other right now.
Wow, I did not know that. Relocated.
Yes. Huh?
Well, there was a fellow that I've been talking to that's been having some activity down there in the Beaumont area, or kind of near Beaumont. And I was trying to find a researcher in that area that might be interested in helping him out, going over there and checking it out.
What do they have going on?
Well, they think that there's something going. It's really kind of it's something I would have to tell you about in person or over the phone or something like that. I really don't.
Okay, well, you've got my number in front of you. Write it down and give me a holler.
I will.
I might be able to fix you up with somebody. I might even know where it is and know about the activity that's down there myself.
Okay.
But yeah, because there was a lot of activity when I was down there. But I've gone back to doing comedy and doing stand-up, and you would be surprised at actually how many road comics. One in particular has had several encounters and has become very involved in the Bigfoot phenomenon, and he and I are still throw stuff back and forth on Facebook with each other, and we talk every now and then. He's a man. He hit 50 states in 50 days on one of his tours. But what had happened with him is he and another comic had finished a show and got paid. Of course, that's by the time you get paid and get out of the club, it's close to 2:30 in the morning sometimes. And they were driving to another show, and it was like an 8-hour drive. They didn't want to get up and make it the next day, so they took off and went ahead and started driving that night and drove over to the next show. Right around sunup, both of them were drinking coffee, and it just swapped places in the car. They were drinking coffee, it just swapped out driving, and this thing walks across the road in front of them. And he said, man, he said 3 steps, it was from one side of the road to the other. I said, 2-lane highway, huh? He goes, yeah. And he told me where it was, and we talked for probably an hour after the show that night about his encounter. He was just really, he said, I've never met anyone other than myself and this other comic that has had a face-to-face, or had an encounter like we did. And I said, well, I told him about some of the activities that I've been involved in. And he's really getting into this when he's not. In fact, he's actually gotten. There's been a couple others who have had encounters like he has that he's run across, and we both run across him. We both know him, and when I tell them who he is, they go, "Oh yeah, I know him." I said, "We'll start talking to him about it." So there's becoming this little Bigfoot community within the comedy community also.
Interesting that.
But you notice none of us tell those jokes. We don't really, for some reason, none of us really find it that we have had some funny incidents happen. Billy can tell you about a gas situation we had one night up at his place. But
that wasn't gas. That was a chemical disaster.
Yeah, that was one step from needing a hazmat crew out there.
Somebody had made some beans, all right? I can't help it. They were good.
Oh, have mercy.
Oh, wait, Lori, it was
see where this is going.
Well, let me tell you, we had one off in the distance to the north east of us that was actually, you could tell it was a juvenile. It was actually it would start out howling like a dog and end up crowing like a rooster. It was very, very faint. It was way off in the distance. Probably mile. It's about like tonight is, only it was a 4th of July weekend. But anyway, one thing led to another, and the guy standing next to me just kind of turns and looks at me and says, "You nasty," called me a name. Then Billy looks down and goes, "What in the?" And he goes, and he just pointed at me, Billy just shook his head and got up and walked back a little bit, and there were 3 other people
crawled up inside of you.
Oh yes, exactly. Well, that's kind of what he said, close to what he said. All right, there were a few other blue words in there, but still.
That was the clean version, yeah.
That was a very clean version. But grandmother was out there that night, and Froggy was out there with us. And there was somebody else was out there. And it floated right across them, and grandmother yells, "I smell sewage."
You got squats in the neighborhood.
It's squatches. I smell, so y'all smell that, squats? Billy says, that ain't sewage, that's Richard. He got
That
died
didn't
over
make her
here.
do the Indian yell, nothing would.
Well, hi, Richard. Surely
Yes,
you have a memorable experience that you want to share with us.
Which memorable experience other than that one?
Other than
What is
chili.
the most memorable experience that you've ever experienced with Sasquatch?
The scariest one, my first encounter. First encounter is always your most memorable experience. I don't care who you are.
Okay.
Your very first experience is always your most memorable. And mine was, my first experience happened not too long before I met you, actually. It had been going on for quite a while. Actually, probably 3 or 4 months before I got this other group that we had all at one time been affiliated with, involved in it. But in fact, Robert Morgan, by the time they got in touch with me, Robert Morgan and I were already in cahoots with each other on trying different little things and seeing what was going on. And he didn't realize that there was this much woodlands in Texas. He thought it was like you see in the movies, you know, the desert.
Yeah,
and all that.
cactus and rocky outcrops and
cotton
and
yeah,
trees.
yeah, like Arizona on a good day, you know.
Exactly.
But and I was talking to Morgan. I said, "No, you don't understand, Morgan." I said, "There's more natural woodlands in East Texas alone than there is in all of Northern California, Washington, and Oregon combined."
Mm-hmm.
And that's just East Texas. And we're not counting West Louisiana, which is also basically from Shreveport down to Lake Charles, nothing but woods.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
So, and, well, basically between Shreveport and Ringgold, south to Baton Rouge and Lafayette, Opelousas, all that, it's all natural woodlands. Once you get south of that, it turns into some major swamp. But, and I...
So your first experience was down in southeast Texas, or where?
No, the first encounter I had was over here at Lake of the Pines, just about, what was that, Billy, about 2.5 hours east of here?
Yeah, that's about right.
Yeah. And I was actually living, in fact, Lori, did you come up to the house?
Yeah.
You had that place out by the lake? Yeah, you did.
Yeah.
That's where I had my very first encounter at. That door we came into the game room there, I was out that back door that night smoking a cigarette. It was on a Thursday night, and I was smoking a cigarette, and there was something off just out the tree line, just on the edge of the tree line. I could see it from the porch light, and it looked like a big brick red bush wrapped around this oak tree. And so I finished my cigarette and I thump it out to the driveway, which is an iron ore driveway. And Lori can tell you, when you stepped out my back door, you're basically in the woods on top of a hill. And flipped my cigarette out there into the driveway, and it did a couple of cartwheels and landed fire first. When it landed fire first, the fire burst. And this thing smiled. And I thought to myself, surely I did not just see a bush smile. I thought, I am losing my mind. I went in, I closed the door, and there was nothing malicious about it. It scared me. But it's because of the smile. It was a grin. And it's like I say, it scared me.
This was at night or during the day?
And this was at night. It's about 10:30 at night.
Okay.
And I could barely see it because of the porch light, because it was dark and I had a porch light on. It was just inside the tree line. And when it smiled. Like I said, there was nothing malicious about it, but it scared me. I thought, what in the hell am I seeing here? I go back in the house. I thought, I'm losing my mind. I'll go look at that bush in the morning. I went out the next morning. There was nothing there. And I thought, surely I'm losing my mind. So I looked at there, and I thought, well, right about there is where the top of it was. And I took a tape measure, walked out there, run that tape measure from the base of that tree to where I thought the top of that bush was. It was 9 feet. Now, when I say this bush was wrapped around this tree, there was red bush on the side of the tree that was facing me, basically an arm, and then there was a triangle shape sticking out from behind the tree. So it looked to me like there was a bush wrapped around this oak tree. Well, that was Thursday night. Sunday night, I go out about the same time of night, and there's squirrels, crickets, frogs, dogs, everything just cutting up like a storm's coming in. And it's just like everything is just really upset. And I've got my cigarette lit, and my little flying squirrel, which was out beside my house, is that me or somebody else doing all that squalling?
Not really sure.
Okay. Well, anyway, there's I had a flying squirrel that was lived in the birdhouse right there outside the back door, which is probably 6 foot from the back door on the tree line. And she ran down the tree, chattered at me like she was mad at me, and ran back up the tree. Well, I'm thinking, well, I wonder what I did, you know. But I'm hearing all this activity. Frogs, dogs, everything. And I hear a pack of dogs coming off of the lake, off from the northeast, coming towards me. And they're giving it the come here, I'm going to eat you bark. And this thing screams. And when it screamed, it was like a big cat and an elephant screaming in unison.
Wow.
I mean, it just resonated through every inch of my body. And their bark turned from, come here, I'm going to eat you, to, oh, no, we got to get out of here. And it screamed again. And this happened faster than I can tell the story.
Mm-hmm.
But when it screamed the second time, it was like it just resonated through everything. It was the most petrifying thing I've ever heard in my life. Everything went dead silent. Frogs, dogs, crickets, squirrels, everything, dead silent. I've never heard the woods that silent in my life. So that was basically my first encounters, yeah.
Thank you so much for calling in and sharing that with us, Richard.
That's just the way we love you.
Do what? I heard three people talking.
It's affected you ever since, and that's just the way we love you.
Well, yeah, I mean, you know, hey, well, that's not what really affected me, but we won't get into what the 70s were. My first computer was a hell of a thing, so we won't get into that either. But, you know, yeah, it was, it didn't really, it got to the point where it really compelled me to search more. And my encounters with this one in particular that had come up to the house, for some reason it would come up the hill to the house. In fact, Clifford Jones was out at the house one night, and I know you remember Clifford, Lori.
Oh, yeah.
Clifford was out at the house one night.
I don't even know what happened to Clifford.
Clifford's down in Conroe. He's doing good. We still talk pretty regular.
Oh, well, good. Tell him I said hello.
I will. Clifford and I were at back of the house one night, and the pond that was just below my house up there, just down the hill on the backside, you could see a man-made light reflecting off the pond down there at my house. But every now and then it would disappear, and then we would move to where we could see the pond again, and then it would disappear again. And what this thing was doing, we figured out what it was doing, was it would walk and try to see us to see where we were looking, and it would eventually block the pond trying to see what we were looking at. So, yeah, it was, it's kind of similar to some of the stories Billy's got.
Mm-hmm.
And, these, because, Billy was like me up there when I was up the lake. I was having the same kind of encounter as Billy was, only they weren't squatting down behind a propane tank at my house.
Yeah, right. Your Rottweiler didn't bite one of them in the tuchus either.
No. No. I had a chow that when they were out, she would go out. But she would go out the door, and that's the only time she barked if she was inside. The only time she ever barked was if they were around. She would bark, and she'd be looking out the window. She knew they were out there. And it would usually be like 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning, and, me being me, if I'm getting up at 4 o'clock, all I did is roll over and say, shut up and leave them alone, and she'd shut up. But, yeah, it was pretty interesting. Pretty interesting set of encounters we had up in that area. It's just, as far as I know, it's still very active up there, but I don't know anybody that's researching up there.
That's a really good area.
It really is. It's a very good area for research. But now last I heard, they were building a new lake out there. And it was basically they were going to encroach on a lot of very active areas in that area. So I don't know what they're going to do with that, if they ever started building that lake or if they were buying land up still for it or what. But if they do build that lake, they're basically pushing them out of a very, very hot area. So.
Okay, Richard. We have to stop right there. And I want to thank you for calling in. If you want to stay on the line and stick with us the rest of the evening, that's perfectly fine. But we've got to go to Footers now.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, that sounds like a winner to me.
Okay, Richard. See you later, mate.
Take care, Richard.
All right, well, y'all have a good one. And Lori, you got my number there? Write it down.
I did, and
okay.
I'll find out more about this and see what we can do for this fella down there. Okay.
All right. Sounds like a winner.
Right. All those researchers, we got to stick together. So thanks a lot, Rich. All right. Bye-bye. All right, let's roll that Footers intro.
Here's my Footers.
This is Walter Cronkite, and this is the way it is. Now, with Lauren Smith and Footers in the Field.
Good evening, everyone. It's time for your weekly dose of Footers in the Field. This week's Footers is one that I found that I just thought was kind of interesting that we could maybe discuss after I read it to you. Cats and dogs may be able to see in ultraviolet. A house cat's bizarre antics may be more than just feline folly. The kitty may be seeing things that human eyes can't. Anyone with cats knows that's obviously true because they'll stare at corners of the rooms and freak you out when you can't see anything. Unlike humans, many animals see in ultraviolet, and a study now suggests that cats, dogs, and other mammals can too. Knowing these animals see things invisible to humans could shed some light on the animal's behavior. Nobody ever thought these animals could see in ultraviolet, but in fact, they do. Light is made up of a spectrum of colors. Visible light that humans can see spans from red to violet, and beyond the visible light, ultraviolet wavelengths. Many animals are known to have UV vision, including insects such as bees, birds, fish, some amphibians, reptiles, and a handful of mammals, such as some mice, rats, moles, marsupials, and bats. Seeing in ultraviolet. The lens of a human eye blocks ultraviolet light, but in animals with UV transparent lenses, Ultraviolet light reaches the retina, which converts the light into nerve signals that travel to the brain where the visual system perceives them. Even in animals whose retinas aren't very sensitive to UV light, some of the light is still absorbed. In fact, some humans who have had their eye lenses removed, such as in cataract surgery, without being replaced by ultraviolet blocking lenses, report being able to see in ultraviolet. In this study, the researchers obtained eyes from a smorgasbord of animals, everything from hedgehogs to red pandas to macaque monkeys, who had died or were killed, donated by zoos, veterinarians, slaughterhouses, and science labs. The scientists measured how much light got through the lens of each animal's eye to its retina. The team found that many of the animals, including hedgehogs, dogs, cats, ferrets, okapies, which are relatives of a giraffe that live in Central Africa, have lenses that allow some ultraviolet light through, suggesting these animals may see in the ultraviolet. But this begs the question, what purpose does ultraviolet vision serve? The only question is being asked because humans can't see it. Nobody asks why humans see other colors. Nevertheless, ultraviolet vision does serve several purposes. Bees and other insects use it to see colors or patterns on plants that can direct them to nectar. Rodents use it to follow urine trails. And reindeer use ultraviolet light to see polar bears, which in visible light blend in with the sky block UV. The better question is why human eyes block out ultraviolet light. One possibility is the ultraviolet light damages the retina just as it damages skin over time. But many long-lived animals that are active during the day, such as reindeer, have ultraviolet light vision and their eyes don't fall apart. A more likely explanation for why human eyes filter out ultraviolet light is to improve visual acuity. Skiers wear yellow goggles that block the UV light specifically for this reason. The researchers looked at the animals that blocked the most ultraviolet light and found that these were the same animals with the highest resolution vision. Humans are good at seeing detail because they have a high density of color-sensitive cells, or cones, in their retinas, which produce high-quality images with just a small amount of light. By contrast, nocturnal animals have eyes that let in as much light as possible, including ultraviolet light, though it may not serve any special purpose. Ultimately, knowing that many animals have ultraviolet vision could provide a deeper understanding of why they behave the way they do. Or maybe your cat is really just crazy.
Is that the end of it?
That's the end of it. The end.
Okay. That was great. That was great. Don't know what to say.
So the implications for Squatch would be?
Yeah, that. Do you think that they have ultraviolet vision, or I know people have said that they can see infrared and stuff, which I don't know how that relates to ultraviolet vision, but, you know.
Go. What I want to know, I have more questions than I have anything to discuss. What I want to know, does ultraviolet allow you to see better, more clearly?
Yeah, I mean.
Okay.
Well, at night, I mean.
It enhances night vision.
Definitely.
Okay. Well, we know that Sasquatch are nocturnal and have nocturnal vision, and it's been claimed that people think that they can see the infrared lights on game cams, and, video cameras, and things like that. So, no way we'll ever know. So we can actually test the specimen, you know.
Yeah.
But it is interesting to think that possibly they may have the ability to see ultraviolet light, if other animals can.
True. Graz, Billy, comments from the peanut gallery?
I'm trying to remember some of the research I did years and years ago when I was studying infrared cameras and ghost pics. And I did a little bit of research into the human eyeball as far as why some people see ghosts and some don't. and I couldn't make any heads or tails out of that. A lot of nocturnal animals are what we would consider to be almost full spectrum. Using as much light as possible, they would get the infrared and the ultraviolet on both sides of what we see. We're pretty much in the middle between the two, between ultraviolet and infrared. So if you look at it in a way as it being full, they're not necessarily seeing ultraviolet. They're seeing more of the full spectrum on either side of what we see. I'm not sure exactly how far it goes in either direction, probably just touching both, because too much of either will mess you up during daytime. You'll get too much infrared or too much ultraviolet, like they were saying about ultraviolet too much of it would possibly burn your eyeball. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, they're seeing something. I know from practical application where I have them coming into an area, just bang, 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 they're there, and you hang a game camera, and it's like flipping a light switch. Not coming through there. They're seeing something. Grasnite, I had an area they were climbing, they were crossing the fence and had been for years. There was an older van that was there when we bought the place. That van was 20 foot from the fence, right? Perfectly lined up where they were crossing grass. And I talked about this for about a week. And the whole thing was just full of junk. And I actually positioned the camera inside the van, winded down. It's hid in the junk. There's no way to see it. And that was the end of it. Quit crossing there until I removed the camera. So, I don't know, just like I said, except for practical application, they're seeing something with those game cameras. They know they're there. So that's my 2 cents on it.
Well, thanks, guys.
Thank
you
so
much. Okay. We're going to get back to the call-in show. If you're listening out there, we want you to call in if you are a Bigfoot researcher. We'd love for you to call in and give us your most memorable experience. If you are a witness, please call in and let us know what you've seen. Share it with us. The number is 347-989-0313. That's 347-989-0313. And we do have a caller. So
that's 740.
Go ahead. Yes.
740, you're on the air.
Hi, Graz. This is Laurie.
Hi, Laurie. How you doing?
Hi, how you doing?
Pretty good.
I wanted to
look over.
Pardon me?
Go ahead. I just flipped over to that picture you were talking about on Facebook.
Did you? Yeah, I thought it was pretty crazy.
Crazy in what way? Crazy good or crazy weird?
Crazy, like it was, you could see, wow, the human attributes. You know what I mean?
Now, there we're running into a bunch of different opinions about what kind of Bigfoot we're talking about, because there's different types of Bigfoots and all across the country. Some of them have flat noses, some of them have human faces, some of them have this, that, and the other thing. There are different versions of it. But you could say the same thing for certain primates, that they do have a lot of human qualities to them.
Well, the way they showed this picture that I saw on Facebook, it was a picture of a Sasquatch with hair all over its face, and then a picture of what it looked like without hair.
Right, that's what I'm looking at right now. I was making a comment a while ago. I haven't posted just a few minutes ago on it that it looks like Muhammad Ali as far as the right one is. The one without the without the hair.
Mhm. Yeah, it's got big bone structure and everything. But I wanted to tell you, I was thinking about some of the stories that I was telling before about. Now, I sort of experienced it, but The one thing that happened was my sister lives in. I live in Ohio. My sister lives in. She's live in Central Ohio, and they lived. It's kind of hard to explain. It was out in the country, but everybody was kind of not on top of each other, but close enough. But it was always on the other side. There was always agriculture around. Somebody was either farming or, they were like crop farming or beef farming or whatever. But one day they had come down to where we live down here and for Easter, and they had left their dogs there at the house and inside, and one of my nephew's friends was going to check on the dogs and take care of them, take them out, feed them, and while they were gone. So they were making their last round of the night, and they came in about 11 o'clock at night. And when you pulled in my sister's driveway where she used to live, it was all flat. And when you pulled in, there was a steel barn in the back and a tree line. And I guess when this friend of my nephew's and his girlfriend pulled in the driveway, the headlights hit four little monkeys, as he calls them, walking in the back on a log. And then they stopped and looked and then walked back behind the barn. And he freaked out. I mean, totally freaked out. He wouldn't come back. And they were like, "Why didn't you check the dogs? Why aren't you coming back to the house?" They're like, and he told them what happened, and they laughed at him. And, he was freaking out. He said they were little Bigfoot. Well, he didn't say little Bigfoot. He said little monkeys that were gray, and there were four of them. And he was just totally freaked out. He never did come back to the house. If my nephew wanted to see him, he had to go see him or meet him somewhere because he refused to come back to the house. And I will tell you that when I've been at my sister's house, and it never ever dawned on me. We would be at the house, just her and I and the dogs, and we would be talking or something, and all of a sudden we hear this bang on the side of the house, and I'm like, "What is that?" And she's like, "I don't."
Bigfoot behavior.
Yeah, I was like, "What is going?" And I looked at her and I go, "What is that?" She's like, "I don't know." So we went looking around the house. I mean, we looked out the windows and stuff, and we're like, "We're not going outside." So, we looked at the windows and didn't see anything. And this would happen like several times when I stayed there. And I never made the connection. And then my sister told me, she goes, "Well, we don't take the dogs out past a certain time of night." And I said, "Why not?" And she said, "Well, after like 12 or like," she goes, "I don't go out past 12 o'clock at night." And I'm like, "Why not?" She said, "Well," she goes, "the coyotes are out." And I go, "What are you talking about?" She goes, "Well, we have coyotes around here." I go, "I've never seen a coyote when I've been here." And she's like, "I'm telling you, they're around." I go, "Okay." So I don't know, because we've never seen them around. And it just makes me wonder, because we even, like, when I was at my sister's house, we'd be at this, standing at her deck, and I'd be like, they had 5 acres. And I'd say about 2.5, 3 acres was, like, lawn, and then the rest was woods. And I would just say, I swear to God there's something in that tree line. I said, because I just can feel like something's watching us. I go, I can't explain it to you. I said, I don't know what it is, and whatever. And this was before, and then that's when she told me about when this boy had this experience when he saw these 4 little monkeys. And I just looked at her like, what? And I go, I said, I swear to God, I said, I thought maybe there was Bigfoots around. I said, but I didn't say anything because I didn't want you to think I was crazy. And she's like, no, I don't think you're
crazy. State of Ohio. Is this
this is in Ohio. This is in central Ohio. In fact, it's not far from the Kokosing River, and it's not far from Chillicothe.
Okay.
It's within an hour radius. And and I know there's been Bigfoot sightings in the next county. I know that for sure. So I don't know. And then my ex-brother-in-law, they had a camera on their driveway because they were having problems with, he said, people trying to get in the house and people trying to get in the garage and stuff. And I thought, okay, whatever. And So it didn't dawn on me one day because he said not in front of the camera, but like off to the side. He said one day he was looking out, and the camera was at night, and they said there was some real tall man that was walking with a hood on, with like a hoodie. And I was like how tall? He was like, he was tall. And I'm sitting there, and I didn't make the connection. I did not make the connection at all. So that's
your stories are so great, Lori. I tell you, I love your stories. I do. I appreciate you calling in and sharing them with us because they're terrific. You have a really great way of relating the stories.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, so that's basically what, happened to us and everything. So I don't know if it was the Bigfoot sound like coyotes or they actually have coyotes around there. I don't know. I have no idea. So, it was just kind of odd, the way things happen. And like the farmer across the street, he had his wife wouldn't let him have more than 5 cows, okay? And they were beef cows. And my nephew used to go help him with the cows sometimes. And sometimes he would find they would have 4 cows in the barn, and then one of them he put 5 cows in the barn. He'd come out the next morning, 4 cows would be in the barn and be 1 cow out in the field. And he's like, I don't know how they got out. And I'm like, I don't know either. We had no idea, and I was like, I don't, and nobody was putting 2 and 2 together, you know what I mean?
Right.
It was just a lot of weird coincidences that were going on, you know what I mean? So.
Exactly. Well,
so
Lori,
I don't know.
Thank you so much for calling in. We've got some more callers, so we're
sure, no problem.
Thank you so much for calling.
Okay, you have a good night, and I'll be in chat.
All right. Thanks.
Bye.
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 972, are you calling in to listen in, or do you have a story to tell us? Or 972. Okay, I think they're just listening in. If you do have a story to tell us, might want to call back and press 1, put you in the host queue, then that way we'll know you're wanting to talk. Okay, I'll put them back on mute. We do have another caller, 541.
Yeah, that's me.
Callers Radio. Hello. Welcome to Night Callers.
Hi, this is Pam.
Okay,
Purple
Pam.
Rose.
Okay. You
yep,
say Pam.
I'm Purple Rose on the chat.
Oh, okay. Well, welcome to Night Callers.
Yeah, I feel like I know everybody.
Well, we thank you for calling in. Yes. A Bigfooter, yay.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you have a story to tell us, Pam?
Well, I was saying that I thought everybody had heard my story, but Digger Dog told me, no, not everybody on here, and you guys too. So I would just do a condensed version. I did do it for Dogman Encounters Radio, and I did it for Sasquatch Chronicles. I think it's episode 33, and that was one of the first times I'd talked about it in over 40 years. And now nobody can shut me up.
Well, I haven't heard it yet, Pam. So
well, it was a Dogman story, and one of you guys were talking about at the beginning here about the different faces on Bigfoot. You know, how they have different noses, etc.
Right.
And that very thing kept me from talking about it all these years, because what I had seen and then later heard about Bigfoot, I knew this wasn't a Bigfoot. I told my husband and others that I saw a Bigfoot because I just didn't know what else to say. But what I saw never fit the picture that everybody else drew. It was close, but no cigar. And finally, I was listening to Sasquatch Chronicles, and someone drew a mental picture of what I had seen, and that was it. Then I asked them some questions. I shot Will some emails, and that's when I found out that all Bigfoot are not created equal.
Exactly, they certainly aren't.
I had no idea. And so then, I started seeing pictures.
Can you tell us what happened?
Okay, I was in Arkansas, and it was in 1972. I was a young teen mother, and we went to Arkansas to have a camping vacation. We went to Beaver Lake near Rogers, Arkansas. And I was 18, my husband was 20, and I had my 16-year-old brother with me. And at that time, I had a 14-month-old baby girl and a 2-month-old boy. We went camping in an old 68, well, it was new then, 68 VW van, and my brother was going to sleep outside in a pup tent. And we were really experienced campers. My dad was in the military, and he taught survival and all that stuff. So that was what we did. We camped. So we were going to go down there and see the opening of this new Beaver Lake that Army Corps of Engineers had just done. It was a beautiful area, and we came in from Kansas. So we were the first campers in there, and there was a big dam put in and so forth, and it had flooded a whole lot of acreage to make this thing. And that kind of made a difference, because we had heard that there was a lot of bad feelings and people displaced, putting in this place. So we were there and drove in, had 2 little babies, so we didn't want to park near anybody. We didn't have to worry about it because there was hardly anybody there. We found this really remote spot back along a big limestone horseshoe ridge, and we figured, well, if the kids start crying, it won't bother anybody that way. So we found our camping spot. My brother put out his pup tent. We went driving around looking at Beaver Lake. And my husband decides he is going to go swimming. And it had been raining and flooding like crazy. And he jumped in to swim, didn't do a good job of it, nearly drowned, got him out, got him into the van, and he was literally just spewing water out of his lungs. He was really in bad shape. But he was like, I'm okay, we're not going to go to the doctor. No, I'm fine, no problem. My brother and I were just like, you're half dead, dude, we got to take you. But he didn't want to hear to it, so we went back to the campsite, and, he was really, really ill. He just didn't make, he was looking really bad, so we just forced the issue, took him into Rogers, Arkansas, to this little medical clinic. They wanted to keep him overnight because basically he had pneumonia. But he said, no, we're camping. I can sleep in the van. So we go back to the campsite, and he is so sick he's just coughing his lungs out. So he's shivering and coughing and laying in sleeping bags in the van. And, we're just kind of, it's kind of half rainy, half okay. So we decide, well, he's sure. Tomorrow he'll be better for sure. So my brother and I are just thinking, yeah, right, I think we'll be leaving. But anyway, we made dinner, and we were okay, and we kind of got settled in, didn't hear anything, didn't see any deer, didn't nothing, It was just kind of sunny off and on. And, let's see here, Bruce, my brother, built a fire. And we sat there until dark, basically. So it was probably 8 o'clock. It was dark, 8:30, something like that. And my kids were sleeping really good. And my brother's sitting out at the picnic table. He says, you know what, I'm going to go to bed. Me too. So he crawls in his tent, and I lay down on the back seat of this van with my head towards his pup tent and the fire ring. Everything's quiet. Pretty good. I'm just laying there, listening. And the fire had burned out pretty much, but, it was still making a few crackles here and there. And I thought I heard small animals outside and some noises coming down off that ridge, I thought, oh, maybe it sounds like some rock fall. Maybe that ridge isn't very stable. And then I heard this howl, a kind of a woo howl, way in the distance. Didn't think anything of it. All of a sudden, my brother was he was weirded out. He was out there in a pup tent. He was weirded out. I heard him rustling around, and I thought, oh, those sounds are scaring him. He's going to come want and get in the van. But he didn't come out yet. He was just sitting there. And I was just laying there, and then all of a sudden, there was this huge bang. Hit the side of the van right where my head was at, on the ridge side, the pup tent side. Uh-huh. It was like King Kong threw a softball right at my head in that van. I'm telling you, yeah, it just shook everything. We three, him, my brother, my husband, we just kind of went, freaked us out, because I was just about asleep and this happens, and it was a terrible thing. I mean, I have PTSD from it. It was so bad. I kind of left out that some people had pulled in a pop-up camper down below us during the night. They just wheeled in and popped up their camp, and we saw them. They had a couple little kids, and we saw that they planned to spend the night for sure, and but they didn't take anything out. They just popped up the tent and basically got in to sleep. And they were down below us off this ridge quite a little ways, and otherwise, that's all I could figure. We were just laying there, and then boom. And my brother threw himself out of that tent, jumped into the front seat of the van. I'm sitting up looking out. We're all looking out, and he's like, what the heck was that? And we have no idea. Not a clue. We were just weirded out. And there was this woot again. It was kind of sounded like a monkey or an owl. I don't know how to explain it, but it was far away. And we were just sitting there shaking. And the kids didn't even wake up. I mean, I was like, oh my gosh, they're going to start screaming. And we were trying to mentally figure out what this was. And I kind of thought maybe it was some of the people who had been displaced by the Beaver Lake project. Maybe they were trying to scare us campers out of there. Uh-huh. You're just trying to make something.
You were thinking logically. Logically.
And we're looking everywhere. Can't see a thing. And a few seconds, just minutes. I don't think it was maybe 10, 15 minutes. The people down below us started rustling around. And we saw their little truck light go on. And all of a sudden, they were just putting themselves, their little kids, they had 2 kids, and we could just barely see them in the flashlight glow and in the truck interior light. And they just kind of got out of their pop-up camper, unhooked it from the hitch from the truck, and drove out of there.
Wow.
And so now we're looking at each other going, well, they scared them away. And they were pretty loud down there. They were like, oh, let's go, that kind of thing. They weren't trying to be quiet. They were like, let's go. So about this time, my husband is sitting up in the van, and he's really, really sick, and he's like, I think we should go. And we're like, yeah, I think we should go too. And then behind the van and at the base of that big limestone rock wall, we heard this huge woot sound, obviously not very far away now, and crackly, brushy sounds, and we were just frozen. And we could hear something big moving around on that rock ledge wall. It was like it was stair steps, and it was coming from the fire pit tent side going around to the back of the car. And then we're going, what kind of animal is that, you know, and then trying to think what kind of animal would throw a rock at our car. And all of a sudden, my husband, he jumps up in the front seat, and he turns on the van headlights. And he's facing away. We're facing away from where the sounds were coming, but he also had pushed on the brake lights, I guess. And my brother said, wow, what on earth is that? We look out the back. I look out the back window. Those guys are looking out their side windows. And that's when I saw the creature. It had stepped down, like stair-stepped down, right behind the van, maybe 20, 40 feet behind the van on this rock wall. And he was lit up by the reverse light or thingamajig, you know, tail light.
Yeah.
And he was lit up enough to see that he had glistening silver-tipped hair. And my brother later on would keep saying that it was just a big, deformed German shepherd. He couldn't deal. He couldn't deal with it. He kept saying it was an upright walking German shepherd. And it was big, but it wasn't Bigfoot-like, you know, across the chest where they say it's 4 feet across, blah, blah. No, he's like a 7-foot-tall basketball player with really buff shoulders. But so in terms of comparing it to a Bigfoot, he was long and lean. And he had a big barrel chest like a bulldog would. You know, if he went down on all fours, his chest would look like a bulldog's.
Wow.
And I saw the side of its head, and he had ears on the side of his head that had little tufts up on it, kind of like a bobcat's ears.
Huh?
But they weren't.
Were they pointed or were they round like a human ear? They were pointed.
They were kind of round like a human ear, but the tufts made them look like they were pointed up. Wow. So I could see the ear clearly. It was hairless, but then it had this tuft of black and silver hair on it that made it look like it was pointed. And I could see the side of his face, but I'm looking out the back window, so I didn't see the eyes real good. I got one or two glimpses of reddish eyes. So when I describe it later, I'm telling what my husband and my brother saw. They saw real red eyes, amber red eyes, and not glowing or anything like that, just reflecting really red. And I thought maybe it was from the tail lights, but I'm sure it wasn't, because he was too far away to get a red from the tail lights on him. And we were just freaking out. I was so freaked out because I could not. Now I knew what had hit the car.
What
now
about
I knew
the face, Pam?
The face I didn't see. All I saw was his nose.
Profile?
It was blunt, like a blunt dog nose.
Okay. Almost like a baboon nose.
I actually did some drawings and a painting of it for, it's on Vic's site, Dogman Encounters.
Okay.
And his nose, the nose is more like a baboon, I would say. And the mouth was not located up in that nose. You know, like a dog's would be in that snout.
Uh-huh.
His mouth was down below, and this nose, this blunt, square nose, was where a human nose would be. Now, I didn't see any teeth, and he was really twitchy. He'd look at us, he'd look at the wall, he'd look at us, he'd look at the rock wall. He would just be backward, you know, really twitchy. And I did see one hand. It was definitely a hand. And I never saw his feet because they were in the brush. But he had his one leg up, and it was not like a dog leg. It was like a human male leg. He was shorter-haired. He wasn't long-flowing-haired, but he did have that silvery glisten to the edges, the tips of his hair. And, I mean, he just stood there twitching, looking at us. And then all of a sudden, my husband and my brother jumped out of the van. They actually jumped out. And I don't know what they were thinking, but they jumped out and they bent down. Bruce ran around to the front by my husband, and they kind of cowered down by the front of the van door, by the driver's side headlight. And when that thing started moving on the ridge, they kept low and they kind of followed down the driver's side of the van. And all of a sudden, this couldn't have taken more than 30 seconds, a huge shower of rock came from over where that creature was. I mean, it was a rain of gravel. And it hit the van and it hit the two guys. And it was like a huge bucket full of gravel. And it came straight at them. Not in an arc, not raining down like rain. It shot at them like it came out of a cannon.
Wow.
It was beyond weird. that did it. They jumped. They leaped into that car, and my husband was so sick. I don't know how he did it, but we're all shaking. He jumps in the front seat. My brother jumps in. We're shaking like crazy. He backs that thing out of there, and we are down that road. And it was so awfully dark, and that road was so narrow that there was no way I thought we were going to make it. And I kind of thought that, we'd get a little ways down the road and this thing was just going to be running alongside the van. I swear. We were sure we were goners. And so we get into Rogers, Arkansas, and we park at this little store it's the middle of the night. And we're parked at the store, all this just breathing hard, under the street lamp, and that's where we slept. We were exhausted. And we slept there, and in the morning we were just gonna go in there and get some supplies and leave. And we barely spoke about it. We're just like, what? All we could do is say over and over, what on earth is that? What was that? And in hindsight, we thought about it now, and I've talked to others about it. And in hindsight, we're thinking, we're the first ones there in the territory. We have two babies with us and a sick man.
Mm-hmm.
And
They're
a guy laying out in the park
vulnerable.
tent. Oh, my gosh. Yeah. In a dead-end cul-de-sac with a horseshoe rock behind us. And we're basically parked front end, so you have to back out. And we just made dinner.
Mm-hmm.
And the way the thing was twitching around, looking, I have a feeling it wasn't the only one. Now that we look back, we're thinking there were a couple of them there. And that's why we heard it first on one side of the car and then that one far away, and then all of a sudden one close. It was a freak out. And I'll tell you, ever since then, like going into the woods and camping, I'd rather sleep in the van.
Yes. Sam, do you mind holding on for a minute? We're going to go to a quick intermission. And
sure, that's basically it.
Well, I know, but I want you to stay on the line because I have a story to tell you about a very similar creature that was seen by someone I know. Okay? Okay, we'll be back in a moment. If you can roll that intermission. Brad. It's got a pause before the intermission, so it may take a minute for it to. Fired.
I forgot I muted myself 10 minutes ago. I muted myself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'll be okay. All right, we're going to intermission. Back in about 5 minutes.
Okay. There is a pause before the intermission. It doesn't seem like it's playing it because there's a pause.
Hey, to all you footers out there heading into the field this weekend, be very safe. Remember, Night Callers Bigfoot Radio is your channel to listen to. We got your back and appreciate all you do out there. Keep on watching, keep on squatching. This song is for you. You are listening to Night Callers Bigfoot Radio. And now back to the show.
Welcome back, everyone. We're having a call-in show tonight. The number is 347-989-0313. So if you have an experience to tell about out there or your most memorable moment, if you're a footer, please call in. We've got 30 minutes left for the show. We were listening to a wonderful and interesting story from Pam about a dog man, and it's a fantastic account and wonderful description. Pam, I wanted to share with you an experience that a friend of mine had. Do you mind if I tell you about it?
No, please do.
Okay. Well, it was teenage boys. They were camping on the back side of this property. These people live in Texas, about 90 minutes north of me, near Marshall, Texas. They have I think it's like 40 acres. And these boys had set up a tent out at the back 40 acres. It was nighttime. They were out there playing around, swapping licks. I don't know if you know what that is. That's where they, take turns hitting each other. And they were goofing off and laughing, and they're all, 12, 13, 14 years old. They've got squeaky voices. And all of a sudden, they're just having a big time out there. And they started hearing somebody walking around their tent. And they started hearing growling. And they got scared. And so there were four of them, and they had two four-wheelers they had rode down there on, and so they got onto the four-wheelers. Well, one of the boys was sitting on the back of the four-wheeler facing out. He had an ice chest under one arm, and he had a mag light, which he had turned off, in his other hand, and they were riding, pretty slow out of there. And he said that he felt like something pulling on that mag light, like pulling it down. And he'd grab a hold of it and lift it back up, and something pulled it back. He couldn't see anything. It's pitch dark. Well, about that time, the driver of the four-wheeler stepped on the brakes, and that's when he saw it, standing there. And it was enormous. And he saw the hair, and he just kind of looked up the body, looked all the way up to the face. And what he saw was it looked like a Bigfoot, only it had a snout, like a baboon. And there was either blood or something wet on its face, on both sides of the snout. He said that he couldn't really see any eyes because that was past the nose, the snout. He was absolutely terrified. He just started backing up. He was doing like Jurassic Park, They were backing up. He was trying to get up on top of the driver. He said, "Go, go." I don't even know if he yelled. But I think that they all sensed that they were the last four-wheeler. So anyway, they got to the house, and he ran into the house, and he went to pulling blinds down and locking doors, and he was absolutely just ashen. His face was white as a sheet. He was absolutely terrified. And it took him a while to be able to sit down and explain what he saw. He was just completely... the mother, he was visiting their house. It was not her child, and she was extremely upset. She didn't know what she was going to tell the boy's mother because he was in shock. And she was like, "Oh my gosh, have these boys over for a camp out, and this happens. He sees this creature out in the woods." And of course, they believed him because he was so absolutely upset, just beyond being able to comfort him in any way, form, or fashion. He was terrified. He just wanted to go home.
No kidding.
I do do believe they finally did take him home when they got him to calm down a little bit. But the thing of it is they saw these snouted creatures several times in the area.
Gosh.
So there was more than one, and as you were mentioning, that you felt there was more than one. It just particularly interests me because I don't know how far Rogers, Oklahoma is from Marshall, Texas, but it's probably not that far.
Yeah, it's Rogers, Arkansas, in the Ozarks.
Right.
So
is it whereabouts is it? Is it northern Arkansas? Or is
Digger Dog was looking it up for me.
Okay.
Beaver Lake, and I know the nearest place was Rogers, Arkansas. And
it's up in the northwest corner.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Yeah.
Okay, it's not that close to Marshall then. Wow,
and
that's interesting.
And it was a brand new place in the 70s, near Springdale and Harrison, and kind of near Fayetteville, actually, in that basic area. Yeah, it was. Even right now, I get so wound up when I try to retell the story. It's just like it's just as fresh as if it happened last night.
Right.
Yeah, it's just it's a bad thing, and I can't imagine those young boys just thinking of something that was grabbing the flashlight.
Yes.
And then you see what it was.
Yes. Yes, what he saw, and he claims it was 10 foot tall, at least.
Oh, man.
Quite enormous. It had the body of a Bigfoot. Everything was Bigfoot except for that snout. And, of course, there were other sightings in the same area. People were seeing the same thing. And also there was a lot of, according to the accounts, they were very aggressive.
Oh, yeah.
They were not the shy, elusive. They were much more aggressive and very bold and completely different about them. And so when you described that one, that's exactly the way he described it, except that he did not say it had the barrel chest like a dog. It was more of the Bigfoot type, broad chested.
Well, you know what? He was probably looking straight on, and I was looking at it sideways.
Yeah, he was looking straight up at it. Yes.
And it was kind of climbing down, stepping down sideways. So, he may not have seen it from the sideways, and I didn't see it from the front, so maybe it was a lot wider than I thought, And
that's a possibility.
Oh, but I'm telling you, talk about bold. Now, Will Jevning said it likely didn't throw a rock, because when we got out and looked at the van, there was not one dent, not one scrape, nothing. Like you would think there had to be a mark. But there wasn't, and Will was saying it or one of them probably ran up there and just hit it, and then ran off into the bushes. And talk about being bold, to run up there with a human rustling around in a tent right there by it, smack that, and for what purpose? I have no idea. Why would it do that? To get us to get out of the van?
I think it was to get you to leave. Because it worked with the pop-up camper family.
It did.
Camper family, it did.
It did. Now, who knows what it did to them? But they were in a tent camper, and then that gravel throw.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that was violent, and the look on its face was vicious. It had the look of a snarly dog, even though I didn't see any teeth. I'm telling you, the look on the face was, go now or face the consequences. We did. We burned out of there. We never went back to the tent. We never went back for anything. It was like, vacation's over, we're heading out. Never went back for anything.
You there. Don't blame you there. What a thing to see.
Yeah, it was horrible. I put a couple of links to some pictures that I did, and, you know, they're two kind of very different, but they're just the generality, you know. It was definitely the reddish color. It definitely had the silver tips of the fur, and I think that's where my brother got the idea that it was a German Shepherd. And he just couldn't talk himself out of saying German Shepherd, got to be a German Shepherd, because he just couldn't deal with it, you know.
Let me ask you a question, Pam. And of course, Graz, if you have a question, or Billy or Lauren, just be sure to jump in. When it was standing there, was it hunched over or was it standing up stock straight?
No, it was leaned forward a little, and the right leg, I was viewing it from its right side, and it was right profile to me, and its right leg was just stepping down off of this limestone rock wall that had rocks sticking out like a staircase, you know, like, so it could just come down that wall like a flagstone staircase, and it had the right leg was bent completely, and then ended in the bushes. The left leg was still on the wall and ended in the bushes, and he was leaned forward, and I saw his right hand grab a shrub, and that's how I knew he had fingers and a thumb. Clearly saw him reach out and grab the shrub, and he kept looking at us, looking straight ahead, look at us, look straight ahead, in a really twitchy, monkey-like movement, really twitchy, monkey-like. And that's how I noticed the tips of the ears had this long hair on them. And so when other people, that's what made it seem like it was a dog, because he had the dog ears, but they weren't. It was just the tips of the hair on those ears. And because he had small, close to the head ears. And then you could see the fur like a bobcat up on the ears. Not very long, but it was there, and it gave that impression that it was dog ears. And it had a round head. It didn't have a coned head.
Right.
And so all those years when I would hear Bigfoot and I would look at Bigfoot and I would say, man, I wish I'd seen a Bigfoot.
They are much nicer to look at. They're still pretty scary the first time you see one, but it still doesn't, you know, after a while you kind of calm down about it. But on a dogman sighting, you never calm down about it, because it's just the feeling of danger, such imminent danger that you're in when you're in that environment with them.
You can keep that dogman stuff, man. I'll stay on this side of the Rockies, thank you.
Exactly.
No kidding.
Exactly.
You know, and you know, you how do you tell somebody you saw something like that, you know? One thing, tell them you saw a Bigfoot. Tell them you saw a UFO. But you say, no, I saw this man who was half dog.
Well, I believe that I saw a dog man once. And, yes, I believe it was a dog man. I don't know what else it could have been. But it was during the day. It was about 5 o'clock in the evening, and there were several of us down by, it was just an old ruins. And we had walked down there. We heard a very strange owl. Well, all the men took off after this owl, started trying to track it down in the woods. It was moving through the woods, making really odd owl-like sound. Well, I could tell that the owl was coming back around to where we were. It was me and another girl, and she had taken off to go somewhere. I don't know where she went. She disappeared, and it was just me there. And I could hear all these little chickadees, these little birds. They were just fussing and fussing and fussing. And I could tell that they were following this, whatever it was that was moving through the woods. And every once in a while I hear this strange owl thing. Well, this area is notorious for killing batteries. batteries go dead there all the time, and naturally my camera would not stay on. I'd turn it on, it'd go right back off. I'd turn it on, it'd go right back off, because I was trying to get a picture of it because I knew it was fixing to come out. I was following the chickadees. I was following the occasional weird owl sound it was making. So I kept turning the camera on, and it kept going off. That's just constantly turning it on. And it wouldn't stay on long enough for me to even get a picture of anything. And that's when it come out, and it was a ways away from me, probably 100 feet away, maybe 75 feet away. I could see it, but I couldn't make out any details. But I could see that from the profile that it had a snout. I could not make out any kind of ears on it, not like a dog, would have ears on top of its head. I didn't see any ears like that. I just saw a protrusion on its face. And it walked very, very straight, just stiffly. And I saw it just briefly, and then it disappeared into the woods. Well, I kept watching, and I caught a glimpse of it again as it come back out again in another little clearing. And I got another look at it, but it was more like it was turned away from me then, and I was seeing more of just the back side of its head and the shoulder width. And it was dark, blackish brown. I couldn't say how tall it was or anything else, and then it disappeared completely. For a little while, I could hear the chickadees. For a little while, I heard the weird owls, and about that time, I hear all the men. They're all coming. They're coming through the woods. I can hear them, and I was just sitting there, could not believe what I saw. In fact, I didn't even want to talk about it because I was a Bigfoot researcher, and Bigfoot's all I see. So
yeah, how do you?
I saw that. Well, and I don't count it as one of my sightings, because I don't count it as Bigfoot. I didn't believe it was a Bigfoot because it just was not built like a Bigfoot, really. In the way
exactly
it walked,
where I was.
Yeah, it was, and it walked so stiffly. I don't know how to explain how it walked. It didn't have the limberness like a Sasquatch does. A Sasquatch, it's like when a Sasquatch moves, it's like every muscle in its body is moving as he moves. And this thing didn't look like it was moving that way. It's more stiff like a dog. You know how dogs it's more like that.
That might be what I'm trying to say is it was twitchy.
Yeah.
Because it was, it was robotic. You know what I mean?
Yes.
It was like you're saying, stiff, quick movements. Mm-hmm. And its head was like when you see monkeys in the zoo and they're quickly turning their head left, right, looking, how twitchy monkeys are. That's how his head was going, and I was just latched onto that head. I was trying to see as much as I could onto that head, and I couldn't see his eyes. I saw his eyes in the first seconds, and I didn't see him after that, but took from my brother's description of the eyes when I did my drawings and such. But yeah, now that you mention it, that stiffness is probably what I'm calling twitchy.
Yeah.
Because he wasn't fluid. It was, and it was creepy in that stiffness and that twitchiness made you feel like he was ready to pounce.
Yeah.
He was wound up.
Yeah, I could see that. From the way you described, I could see that. Now, I did not feel that when I saw what I saw, because the thing that I saw, I don't think it was even aware that I was there. Because it never turned and looked at me or anything. I don't think it knew it was there. I was sitting down on the ground leaning up against a fallen log. And I did not move when I saw it. I did not move. I didn't make a sound. I just watched it. And, of course, I quit trying to turn on my stupid camera because it wasn't going to work. So
how frustrating.
I know. That's Bigfoot luck. It's the way it happens.
Yeah, it was memorable to say the least. I hope nobody else has to see one. I'd see 100 Bigfoots before I saw that thing ever again. Let's see. I just got an email, and Emdell sent me one to see. Yes, that is the face. That's that baboon Bigfoot that's carrying a little dog.
Okay.
That is. Except it wasn't that big a face. It wasn't that long a face. But it was like saying a basketball player doesn't look exactly like a midget. You know what I mean? It's still the same face. That same color too. Same color. Good job, Emdell, because that's it. And I don't know if you can. I can't see ears on this thing, but the body shape and that snout. And so if I were to have described it, I would not say it was a dog man. I would have said it was a baboon man.
Mm-hmm.
And I know where people get dog man. I know many years ago it got that name, but I wish they'd called it baboon man. That just makes me feel better.
How tall would you say it was, Pam? I mean, were you able to?
Well, like I said, he was leaned forward and he was holding onto a bush, and I remember thinking he's about 7 feet tall. But if he was straightened up more, he might have been taller. But I remember at the time trying to think, good Lord, that's a big guy, or that's a big creature. He's got to be about 7 feet, but he was bent forward, so he could have been bigger.
Still absolutely terrifying vision to see.
It was.
I can't even imagine, to be in its eyesight. I mean, it's looking at you. That's
definitely. And the look was ferocious, was vicious. And I'm surprised he didn't bare his teeth, but he never did. I never saw teeth at all. And,
he didn't have
just
to.
that.
He was ugly and scary enough as he was.
He was. and the thing that I can't get over in all these years of going over it and hearing other people's stories and putting two and two together and et cetera is that shower of gravel. One of those creatures' hands could not have held all that gravel.
Right.
So it had to be more than one. And they had to have planning ability to get together, one to hit the side of the van, another one to appear coming down the back to kind of go into the back of the van, and then show up to all shoot gravel at one time. Because it was not just a small pile of gravel. I mean, I thought back on it and thought maybe it was because we were so freaked out that the sound of it made it seem like there was more gravel than there was. But I remember when we were going down the road, the gravel was coming off the guys' shirts, and when we got to that little store, they got out and shook off, and they still had gravel in their shirt pockets and gravel everywhere on the car and everything.
Good Lord.
So there was planning ability and maybe pack animal stuff there. And so, years of thinking about it just gets worse. It doesn't get better, it just gets worse.
Needless to say, you and your family have never gone back to Beaver Lake.
No. Never went back, not for the tent, not for nothing. There was...
You wouldn't go back now, just to see.
Nope, I would avoid that area. I just, guys, go for it if you want to, but I have no wish to go there. If you told me I for sure would see a Bigfoot there, I wouldn't go there. Oh, no.
Well, Pam, thank you so much for calling in.
Well, you're welcome.
I know we gave you more than 10 minutes, but it was well worth
I'm sorry, guys.
It was a fantastic story. It was a fantastic experience to share with us, and we thank you so much for sharing it with us.
Well, you guys have a good night.
All right. You too, Pam.
Bye.
Bye. Wow, that was terrific.
Dogman, ick.
Huh?
Dogman, ick. Yeah.
Well, people, about 4 minutes, 40 seconds left of the show. And I don't think we're going to have any more callers. Did we have any questions from the chat? Maybe we can address one of them before the show's over.
I don't have a chat up. Billy?
No. You have to ask Lauren. My chat will not load up tonight. While we got a spare minute, and
Okay.
Lauren's looking at that, I'd like to remind everybody to come by our Facebook page, Night Callers, and give us a like. And we're also on YouTube now for any episodes that you might have missed. You can hook up with us there as well. And Lori, back to you.
Hey, thanks, Bill, for that. We have been hearing out there that some people can't get Blog Talk. I know Blog Talk will not load on my phone. I've heard of some other people having problems too. Be sure to let everybody out there know they can go to YouTube. It takes a couple of days for me to get that episode up, but I do get it up. That way people can go there and listen if they can't get Blog Talk to load on their phones. I want to let you know that next week we are having a Bigfoot researcher from Idaho. His name is Anthony Moffett, and he's got great pictures up on.
That's a good new place.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. I know we've had a lot of people from Ohio and Colorado, and now we are going to be talking to somebody who's been researching in Idaho. Very much looking forward to this show, a new area, and it should be really great. So, okay, we're all booked up for January and working on February, so we'll have some Bigfoot researchers lined up for all of you out there. We want to thank all the Bigfoot researchers out there for all they do, and we want you to know that Night Callers Bigfoot Radio does have your back, and I guess we'll just call it a night. Does anybody else have anything to share before we go for the evening?
Grass.
What? I'm sorry, I was looking at something.
You always want to be on the spot.
Well, you know what? We had some great callers tonight. It was a really good show. So I guess we will just call it a night, everybody. Yep. Say good night and roll that out.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, good night.
Good night,
good night everybody.